Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you happen to be on the planet Earth, and Merry Christmas, and welcome to IAG Live this Friday, the 5th of December, 2020. Yes, it is December 2025, and we're all in the Christmas spirit here. I've got the Santa hat and the green shirt, and yes, this is our Christmas party. Mad Macau is on tonight at Wynn Palace. So for all of you who will be attending, I will see you there. And as always in IAG Live, we have the intrepid studio producer, Óscar Guiaro. Come in. Óscar.
Hello.
¿Cómo estás?
Muy bien.
Hey.
Feliz Navidad.
Okay, I don't understand that much.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Oh,
Feliz Navidad.
What is it?
Feliz Navidad.
Feliz Navidad.
Yeah.
There you go. Very well. Merry Christmas to all of our Spanish viewers. And, well, Portuguese people would understand that for sure. There's probably some Portuguese people, given the fact that we're in Macau. How are you, Óscar?
I'm okay. All good. Ready for tonight.
You ready for Mad tonight?
You
gonna have a Santa hat?
I don't know. I will be busy with the camera, chasing people.
With the camera, right. Well, you got the Santa beard going. That's the main thing.
Yes, just half of it, yeah.
Very handsome with the beard. All right, we'll see you tonight at Mad. I'll be in the office after this. And see you next week too.
See you.
Ciao. And as always, we have the IAG Managing Editor, Ben Blaschke. Come on in, Ben.
Hey, Andrew.
Dressed up again, I see, Ben.
I'm dressed down because it's December in Sydney. It's very hot today. It's well over 30 degrees, and I'm just into the summer Christmas spirit. So yeah, this is my casual outfit and matching green anyway. So.
Matching green, yes, you got the memo. Very good green. Over 30. That's a cool snap in Sydney these days. What's going on? You're getting weak in your old age.
I think tomorrow is well over 35, so it's going to be a pretty hot couple of days.
Very good. Well, I'll be down in Australia soon. I'm planning to go down to Melbourne on December the 20th and be down there for maybe about 17 days before the big travel journey commences for January. I'm visiting no less than 11 cities between January 7 and January 31, including, of course, ICE, and you'll be there in Barcelona.
Yeah, looking forward to it, Andrew. It's always a bit of ICE is always such a massive show. So I mean, it's an exciting week because we're in Barcelona. You know, we've got a few events to go through. We'll enjoy sort of the the European flair and the food and all of that. But also, it's a super important show for us. It's a massively busy show, so I'm looking forward to that as well. And just seeing all of our customers and meeting new people should be fun.
Yeah, I mean, over the years, it's been a big and important show for us, but it's always been a very iGaming focused show, not so much bricks and mortar, but certainly still enough to justify us going. But now that we've got our sister publication, Complete iGaming, which some of the viewers might not know about, CompleteIGaming.com, that we launched in January, just sort of a soft, quiet launch, joint venture between us and CDC Gaming, our sister company now in the Complete Media Group. Anyway, now that we've got that Complete iGaming, we're doing 6 stories on the iGaming industry, and that newsletter comes out at 9 a.m. New York time, so 9 p.m. for us here in Macau. Well, actually, 10 p.m. at the moment with New York on New York off daylight saving. And so that gives a little bit more interest to ICE for us, because some of these companies that we're covering in Complete iGaming, we see at ICE and talk to them. So it's just another aspect. And I guess ICE will become more and more of an important show for us each year, particularly now it's moved to Barcelona. It allows more exhibitors than in London.
Yeah, and I think, although, we've often spoken about the fact that land-based and online in Asia have typically been quite separate, I think there is, certainly in the Philippines, a little bit of a blurring of those lines now. And I think we're going to see more of that in the future across jurisdictions. So I think that a show like ICE that has a large presence of both online and offline, of land-based, I think that's going to become, as you say, more important over the years as those lines get blurred.
And they've got room to expand. I think, did they added more space this year? Was it a whole extra hall or just part of a hall?
Yeah, there's a new hall this year, I believe. I think where the affiliate used to be might have moved elsewhere to accommodate from memory.
Oh, that was up the back last year. Yeah.
Around, yeah.
And of course, you did a very detailed interview with Stuart Hunter, the managing director of Clarion, the company that does ICE. IAG is the Asian lead media partner for ICE, and you published as part of that arrangement a 22-page story in the December issue of IAG, an interview with Stuart. Stuart's a nice guy, and he's been, we've known him for a long time. I've probably known him for over a decade now. And maybe you want to talk a little bit about that interview. What did he say in the interview?
Oh, well, as I say, 22 pages, probably too much to go into detail. I suggest people go on to ASGAM and click on magazines and have a look at the current issue or magazine articles. I think it's listed out.
Yeah, you can click on the very top left corner. There's a little menu that's an item that says magazines, which gives you the flip books and actually every issue of IAG all the way back to 2005, all 254 of them, I think it might be. Or you can click on in the main menu. There you go. Oscar's bringing it up for us. You can click on there you go. That's maybe Oscar, you scroll down a bit. So that's the magazines page, and you can click. I mean, don't do it, Oscar, but you can click on any one of those magazines. It'll open a flip book, and you can actually flip through and look at the magazine as it was when it was published. Or Oscar, why don't you click on the mag articles item there on the main menu, just next to news feed, and that will bring up the web versions of all of the articles. There's the flip book, and then if you scroll down, you'll get the web versions of all of the articles in IAG. So maybe scroll down to the Stuart one. It's got a picture of his face, doesn't it?
No, it's where.
There it is, where the gaming world meets. That's the one. Maybe click on it, Oscar. There you go, 192 views. There's Stuart, and scroll down a bit, Oscar. You can show the audience how extensive that article is and how much it talks about ICE. So there's a lot of people in our part of the world. They've heard of ICE. They're familiar with it. There's a nice shot of Barcelona. They're aware it exists, but maybe they don't know too much about what goes on there. And I'm sure this article answers that question, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we focused on, Stuart and I chatted about, was, of course, all the new features at ICE. And, of course, there's many different innovations and always trying to find new things to do. There's so many of them. I recommend having a look at the article, and Stuart and I talk a bit about that and a bit about the Barcelona-isms that Clarion has sort of tried to introduce to the event since it debuted there earlier this year. To quite a fun and interesting place to go to, and not as cold, Andrew, as it used to be in London too that time of year.
No, it's still a little chilly, but nothing like London, because it is in January 19, 2021, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, earlier than it used to be. In London, it used to be around February 6, 7, 8, but they couldn't get those dates at the FIRA, what's it called? FIRA debate. Maybe Oscar, we need to use Oscar's Spanish. Come on, Oscar, jump on and tell us how to pronounce it in Spanish. This is a question without notice. There he is.
No, it's Fira de Barcelona.
Fira de Barcelona Gran Via, right? Because they've actually got, there's a trap for young players. There's actually two Fira de Barcelona. Is it Fira Barcelona or Fira de Barcelona?
I think they make it like Fira Barcelona like a brand, but It's
Right.
totally, everybody will say Fira de Barcelona. It's just make like a brand name, like official business name, Fira Barcelona.
Okay, so it's Fira Barcelona, or everyone says Fira de Barcelona. Gran Via, and Gran Via, Granvia, 2 words, is the area in Barcelona that it's in.
The road. It means like Broadway somehow.
Oh, does it? Oh, Gran Via, like big road.
Yeah,
Big road. It's like a Daimalo in Chinese. It makes sense. Gran is grand and Via is road. Yep. So, but there's 2 Fira de Barcelonas. There's one at Gran Via and there's a smaller one. Obviously, we're at the big one, and it's very good. Anyway, thanks for the Spanish, Oscar.
No problem. Catalan, eh? Catalan. It's like the local language.
Catalan, right, exactly, because it's in Barcelona. It's actually Catalan, not Spanish. Okay. Actually, when you go there, you see all 3 languages, right? On the trains, for example, you see English, Spanish, and Catalan, right? Yeah, this is part of Catalonia. And Oscar, you'll be there at ICE as well?
Yeah, I will. Very excited.
So if anyone wants to meet the superstar Oscar, just get yourself over to Barcelona and you can meet him.
Nice to meet you there. Everywhere. Bye.
Thanks, Oscar. Yeah, so that's what we'll be doing in January. But of course, we've got Christmas before that, and we've got Mad tonight with our friends at Wynn Palace. Actually caught up with Frederick Livasuto and Craig Fullerlove yesterday. Had a bit of a chat with them, and they'll both be there tonight. I think Craig will be officially representing Wynn, and I think Frederick's got another commitment, but he'll be quick, in and out and say hi to everybody. So that'll be a great event tonight, our last event for the year in Macau. Tonight, and then we'll have the equivalent event for Manila exactly 7 days from today on Friday next week at Soler. At the BRB, the former Baccarat room and bar downstairs there at the front when you first walk into the VIP, sort of halfway in between the main entrance and the VIP, you go downstairs there. And it's very, very lovely venue there with Chesterfields, a nice little upmarket sort of whiskey bar kind of flavour with a little bit of entertainment. So that'll be next Friday. So, all right, Ben, well, I suppose we better get into the news of the week. Okay, so we've got 12 stories this week. It's been quite a busy week. This was super interesting, and I've been doing a bit of research on this, and I will actually be in the UAE in January. Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and Ras Al Khaimah. 3 of those 11 cities I mentioned, I'll be going to all 3 in January on my way over to Barcelona. And this was super interesting. It just happened with no fanfare. There were no announcements. They just put it up on the GCGRA website, the website of the regulator, and they just started operating, didn't they, Ben?
Yeah, and I mean, Andrew, it might be worth you sort of going into the details of this, because there was, the initial reports in a local media outlet said that there were two websites linked to Momentum, which is, of course, the parent company of the game, the lottery licensee. There were 2 online casino and sports books operating. But it's a little bit more complicated than that, Andrew. It
is. Yeah, I've done a bit of research on this. So the game is the game is a subsidiary, wholly owned subsidiary of Momentum, and they've got 2 websites, Dream Island and True Win. Only accessible in the UAE. So if you use a VPN and you put the UAE, you will get them. And they're full sports books and online and iGaming sites. And my understanding is that Dream Island is closing down. I don't really understand why. Perhaps they had one name and they wanted to move to another. Seems like there's just some kind of technical reason. Who knows? Maybe Dream Island was the test site or something. But if you go to both websites, you can see they're clearly owned by the same company. And Dream Island actually says on there, please register at True Win. We're closing down, I think, in later this month, actually. So that's only a short-term thing, Dream Island. So the real one will be True Win, truewin.ae, I think it is, just straight.ae. Or maybe is it .co.ae? Can't remember. Anyway, you'll find it. And of course, you should only be playing on there if you're in the UAE. And yeah, that's run by Coin Technology, isn't it? Or is Coin Technology the one with 971? Is it 971 or 941? I always forget. It's in the story here. Help me out, Ben.
971.
Play 971. So there's another website, Play 971. Is that Coin Technology? I can't remember. Anyway, they're all the same. So they're all wholly owned subsidiaries of Momentum, and Momentum is the company that owns the game, and the game LLC or Limited or whatever they are is the company that runs the UAE lottery. And that's the only licensed lottery in the UAE. So if you want to play lottery in the UAE, you have to do it there. They only take bets online, I understand. There's no retail operation, which is very modern of them, but they're probably missing out on some revenue there, I guess, without having retail operations. So look, this company's obviously been has passed probity with the GCGRA, and the GCGRA is supporting it, and they're basically the one and only operator in the UAE. So it's live. So we've got online gaming in the UAE as we speak. Happened, went live quite recently. So it's in the last couple of weeks, and we got wind of it from that local media outlet. All credit to them for breaking the story, and all credit for you, Ben, for keeping track of them and bringing it to the IAG readers. So I see 1.2 thousand, so 1,200 people have read that story, and super interesting what's going on in the UAE. And of course, Wynn up there at Ras Al Khaimah, planning to open March 2027. I think we have a story later on about that, so let's deal with that then. All right. Well, that's a really major development in the global gaming industry. First Middle East country ever to officially and legally launch something. I mean, it must be legal because it's on the regulator's website. No actual iGaming law promulgated that we're aware of, but the government, I mean, the regulators says they're licensed, so they must be okay. Quite interesting. It is the UAE. You'd expect things to be a bit opaque there. So, big development in the global gaming industry. All right, let's move on to the next one, Óscar. Ben Pierce did this for us.
Yeah, so again, we've spoken a lot about the fate of the satellite casinos in Macau over the past few months. We're getting fewer and fewer. Most of them are closed for now. Of course, Ponte 16, one of the more significant of those, located there on the inner harbour. And we've had a couple of matches there, I think, over the years too, Andrew.
Well, yeah, we have. We're good friends of Ponte 16. Hoffman Ma, we've interviewed from Success Universe over the years. Of course, Vince, the GM up there, Vince De Palo Rossi, Austrian gentleman, very, very nice, friendly guy. Has very kindly hosted a couple of MADs for us up there over the years. It's a great little, Sofitel's the hotel. You could do a lot worse than staying at the Sofitel at Ponte 16. It's a great little property, and they've got the Privé restaurant there. It's kind of sad to see the satellite shutting down, but such is progress.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that we haven't heard a whole lot about, and obviously we've been trying to look into this a little bit, Andrew, is what's to become of Ponte 16? What are the plans going to be? Of course, you interviewed Hoffman maybe 2 years ago now.
About 2 years ago, yeah.
Spoke a bit about, and have spoken publicly elsewhere as well, in general, about plans to reinvigorate the property and the surrounding areas as well, in partnership with SJM. So I'm quite curious as to what this means for those plans and those developments moving forward. We'll keep looking into that.
Well, the Macau government have got this sort of community tourism push, and it's one of the pillars of their 1+4 moderate diversification or adequate diversification strategy. And so each of the 6 concessionaires have sort of been charged with developing a particular part of town, a particular part of Macau. And SJM had previously announced, hadn't they, that they were going to sort of reinvigorate the Ponte 14 area, and also bring in the casino. I've just gone blank. The one that on the floating casino that had been towed around. It used to be near the inner harbour ferry terminal, and then it was towed around the side near. Sorry, not inner harbour, outer harbour, and then it was the one that the ferry that comes over from Hong Kong to Macau side, and then it was towed around. What was it? God, I've gone blank. Well, anyway, what it was called. There was a James Bond movie shot there many in the 60s or 70s or something. And they were going to reinvigorate that. I think not actually as a casino, but as a kind of a tourist attraction to just go and visit and reinvigorate that Pont 14 area, because it is a historic part of Macau, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes. So, Pont 16, the casino there is closed now. We're getting, as I said, fewer and fewer. We've got Landmark. We haven't heard anything about what's happening with Landmark yet.
Yeah,
but,
that's gonna be the last one, isn't it? Landmark is gonna be the.
So, I mean, from memory, so obviously Lark is being transitioned across to SJM. Fortuna is closing at the end of the 9th of December. So that sort of leaves Landmark as the only one where we're waiting to see, is there a closing date? Is there a transaction? We'll find out soon, I guess.
We'll have to get Pierce to go around at midnight on December 9 to Fortuna. Oh, hello. We've got some. There we go. Gia Gun has said, "Good day, everyone. Preparing for Ice Barcelona. Man with a golden gun." Scott's chimed in. Scott Messenger, Chief of Staff for IAG. That was the James Bond movie that we shot there. And Scott, if you could remember the name of the casino, I know it really well, and I've just gone blank. Of the floating casino there in Macau. Throw it in and ho ho ho. Okay, all right. Next one, Óscar. This is one for you, an Australian one. A little bit of a step towards a level playing field between the casinos and the pubs and clubs.
Well, a long way to go before that, I think, Andrew.
Long way to go, but it's a first step.
I think this is more about just standardising a condition that has already been in place for some time, which is the idea of having a mandatory 6-hour daily window for pubs and clubs to close down their gaming. Possibly, I mean, clubs usually close down completely for a certain period of the day, but even 24-hour pubs and clubs would need to, or do need to, close for 6 hours a day. The problem was there were all sorts of exemptions and exceptions to the rule. I think 670 venues across the state had various exemptions that allowed them to open at certain times. And I guess in effect that meant that, particularly in the CBD, even if you're at a venue that did close to gaming at, say, 4 a.m., you might be able to walk 100 metres up the road to one that was still open. So the idea of this is, by having a 6-hour window where all gaming machines are switched off each day, it gives people who may be experiencing a problem, and particularly at that time of day, probably more likely to be exacerbated if you're playing at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. That's what the studies show anyway. It gives people, the idea is to give people a chance to step away, have a break, have a think about it.
Cooling off period, I think, is the term. I think that's the term we're looking for. Yeah, I mean, I think the much as people in our industry might bristle at it, I think a balance between harm minimization and the industry. I mean, we have to have a gaming industry. You and I have many times said if they ban the gaming, it'll just go underground. We won't go into that again. You're just handing it over to the criminals. But I think there's a realization in our industry that it is a dangerous product to some people, a fairly small number of people, but it is a dangerous, just like alcohol is a dangerous product for some people who've got a susceptibility in that area, and we need some balance, and that'll create sustainability for the industry. Of course, investors need to temper their revenue expectations as based upon that, but we need a sustainable industry, and being sustainable means perhaps implementing some of these measures so that the wider community outside of our industry looks at our industry and says, okay, yeah, they've got a product that's dangerous for some people, but they're acting responsibly with it, and we do need to have that product available. I mean, cars crash and people die. Doesn't mean we get rid of cars. So I think things like this can be good as long as the balance is right and fair. There's enough opportunity for investors to make a good return on their deployed capital, and society as a whole says, well, that's pretty reasonable. There's a fair balance there. So, and I think at the moment in Australia, you've got this big problem, haven't you, between the casinos and the pubs and clubs, where there are rules that apply to Crown Melbourne, for example, or Star, where a person can walk out of that casino, walk literally 2 or 3 minutes to a pub around the corner, and that rule doesn't apply to him there. So pretty difficult as an operator, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was watching the Star AGM a week or two ago, Andrew, and actually it was sort of a question from a shareholder that was in attendance there, was talking about the fact that players that walk into the casino now are handed a form with all sorts of very personal questions that they have to answer, and a lot of people just don't want to answer them. Whether may not have anything to hide. They just don't want to be
Right.
That level of privacy. They take offence at being delved into to that extent, and that was
Fair
spoken
enough.
about at length in the AGM. Now that sort of issue doesn't apply in pubs and clubs. You don't get handed a sheet asking you those questions. So that's where we talk about the level playing field and where the casino can be at a disadvantage. I agree with you too, Andrew. You spoke about there are certain things that should be brought in, and I actually don't think the 6-hour window is a problem. I can understand the rationale behind that. I also understand the rationale behind there's been a mandate for pubs and clubs to have responsible gaming officers on hand at all times that gaming is operational. I think that's a very common sense move forward. Some of the other things that have been brought in, not so much. I think some of them are very questionable. But yeah, as we say,
Yes.
I think that really highlights that there are certain requirements of the casinos at the moment that place them at a distinct disadvantage to the pubs and clubs that are located right next door.
Yeah, 6 hours seems like a lot to me, maybe 4, but that's just that's just an argument over scale. I think the idea of having some short closing period so that they're not just 24/7, probably not a bad thing for some people. So anyway, let's move on, or else we'll be here all day. What's the next one? Oh, GGR and Macau just keeps powering away, doesn't it?
Yeah, another month that comfortably exceeded all forecasts, that beat the street again. Pretty strong month for GGR. I mean, November's often the weakest month of the fourth quarter traditionally. It's sort of wedged in between the October Golden Week and then December with the Christmas holidays and obviously everything that brings the players coming into Macau at that time of year. So November's always a bit weaker than the other months, but very strong compared to last year, 14.4% increase, and again, just more positive signs, particularly at the higher levels, the premium gaming levels, Andrew.
Yeah, the VIP guys are really coming back, but they're coming back direct, so there's no junket commissions to pay, and you've got a multi-billion-dollar concessionaire handling all of the AML and know your client, all of that sort of stuff, rather than the junkets. Oscar, just oh no, it's okay. I see it. 21.1, yeah, 21.1 billion US. I mean, just I'm on my calculator tapping away times 12, 253 divided by 8 to get to US. So sorry, 21 billion MOP, I should have said. Times 12 divided by 8, 32 billion run rate, and that's probably what it's going to come in at, a little bit over 30. It was a little bit less at the beginning of the year, and it seems to be ramping up in the end of the year. So we're looking at a little over 30 billion we've got 1 month to go, right? So for the first 11 months, thanks, Oscar. What is it? It's I can just read that, 28.2 billion. So we're going to get, we are going to get over, because it's going to be more than 1.8 billion. So we're going to get December will. So we're going to get just a smidge over 30 billion. What a great year for Macau. Over 2/3 of the high watermark of 45 billion, or maybe exactly 2/3 of the high watermark of 45 billion back in 2013. But that was when the junkets were just on fire, and there was a very small margin on much of that play for the casinos. And 2019, I believe, was 36.9, if I remember correctly, billion. So 37 billion. So not too far off that number too. So Macau doing really, really well. Very hyper competitive environment though. All 6 concessionaires are right at each other, and that's great for players. That's great for the customer, right?
Yeah, exactly. And look forward to seeing, December, as you say, December GGR should come in pretty strong. Could even be the highest of the year, the highest post-pandemic potentially.
So what would that be? What's the record month so far this year, Ben?
So October was 24 billion MOP, around about there.
That's three. I think, wasn't it 3.1? Rings a bell.
3.01 billion US, I think.
3.01 was it? Okay.
So that would push it up to over 31 billion US for the year, if that was the case.
Yeah, it would. Well, let's see what December. We'll all know it at about 12:45 p.m. on New Year's Day. You'll be up bright and early on New Year's Day. It's not like you're going to go out New Year's Eve or anything, are you, Ben?
No, not at all, Andrew. I love working on the first of the year.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Every year we got to do the GGR numbers on January 1. We just delight in doing that. Thanks, DICJ. Okay, thanks for being so fast and efficient. All right, next story. What do you got for us, Oscar? Oh, the Star. Well, you can talk about this one because you watched the AGM, and it's good to see our friend Sue Kim as chairman now of the Star. He's finally made it.
Well, he's not chairman of the Star.
Oh no, sorry, Bruce Matheson is, but he's on the board. Yes,
Bruce
yes,
Matheson Jr. is the chairman, but certainly the board changes. So obviously, with Bally's taking a 38% stake in Star, roughly, and investment holdings about 23% now. That's all been done. It's all been put through. So combined 61%. So obviously, as a result, we saw Anne Ward step down as chairman of the board and depart the board. We saw a few. I think we saw about 3 people step off the board this week.
Right.
We saw some new appointments. Sue Kim, of course, taking his role as one of the Bally's appointments, and Bruce Matheson Jr. as the new chairman. So obviously, this is the new board that will be in charge of guiding the company to better days ahead, and I'll be charged with improving the price of my shares, Andrew.
They're still languishing at 11 cents.
I don't even bother looking anymore.
Oh, come on, surely they've gone up a bit with all this activity in this. There's a new hope. There's a new hope for Star with Bally's. I've been so used to calling Sue Kim chairman of Bally's that I called him chairman of Star. Of course, apologies to Bruce Matheson Jr. Of course, he is the chairman of Star, and Sue is just a lowly board member. So, but his CEO in Bally's, George Papania, is also on the board. So Bally's got two seats on the board, and Investment Holdings got 1, but it happens to be the chairman, which I think is a good move, making Bruce Matheson the chairman rather than Sue Kim. Bruce, he's obviously an Australian. He lives in Sydney. I think that's a good thing, and good luck. I mean, Bally's. I mean, we're not cheerleaders for Bally's by any stroke of the imagination. They've been very good with access for us, which has been fantastic. But you know, as I said last week, the proof of the pudding will be in the eating. Let's see how they go. They do have their critics in the US, that's for sure. They are kind of spread quite thin. They've got a lot on their plate at the moment. I think the New York story is going to come up. They got the New York in the Bronx. They've got that. They're doing Chicago. They've got 19 properties. There's also the Vegas, so Tropicana site they've got to deal with. They've got 1 casino in the UK. They've got an online business. They've got lottery interests. So they're a pretty busy company. They've got a lot going on. So hopefully they've got the time and energy to put into Bally's. And as Sue Kim said in that quite extensive interview I did with him, he's looking to use local talent. It's not like he's going to bring in his whole team and just take over an American takeover of an Australian asset. He is looking at using talent from within Star that exists, perhaps talent that hadn't been promoted in the past, and maybe talent from the country, but currently not at Star. So anyway, let's see. He's been chopping at the bit to get in there, or chafing at the bit, I should say, to get in there, and now he is. So expect some changes soon, beginning with new property president or property CEOs. You have to call them in Australia. Apparently, that's a legal requirement. That's why they're called property CEOs. Because I actually asked him the other day, and he said no, you have to call them CEOs. It's kind of funny. They got 4 CEOs running around. Same as Crown. They got 4 CEOs running around, 1 for each property, and the one on top. The one on top in Crown, of course, being David Si, who I will be catching up with in early January in Melbourne. All right. Okay, let's move on. What's next? Good luck to Star. Oh, there it is. There's the story. Maybe you want to talk about this one. The three little piggies left at the end. I shouldn't call them that. The 3 bottles left on the wall. Got the 3 remaining slots. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, I think this was pretty expected. Well, they're not absolutely guaranteed yet, but they've obviously been recommended by the Gaming Facility Location Board. So now the game, so they should get through. So the Gaming Commission will now just do the final probity checks and make sure the checks and balances are there. Of course, each company has to pay their license fee by the end of the year. In Genting's case, that's 600 million US, I believe. And then they'll get their
pocket change for KT Lim.
Exactly. Yes. So then they'll have their full commercial license. So yeah, I mean, I think this was expected once there were 3 bidders left, but certainly, big news for them to have that pretty much locked in place now.
You know, it's interesting. There were, I don't know how many bidders there were at the start, but there were a lot. And then they dropped off one by one. There a lot of criticism of the process in New York by the industry. Kind of weird process. It took a long time, lots of machinations and changes along the way and so forth. Wynn was in there with that Hudson Yards There were, I mean, I won't start naming them. MGM was in there, and we've ended up with 3. Genting, New York and Queens, the existing Genting machines only property that will become a full casino. And the other one in Queens is the one at the Mets ground, the JV between Hard Rock and Steve Cohen, isn't it? Steve Cohen owns,
that is right.
owns the Mets. And I think that's an $8 billion property that they're proposing there. Wow, that will be impressive. And that also in Queens. And Bally's one up in the Bronx. So Bally's will have that as well. So they'll be busy, as I said before, developing both New York and Chicago and trying to turn around Star as well as everything else they got on their plate. All right. And Scott did mention before Macau Palace, of course. I don't know why I had that. Brain freeze there. Almost lost today's show, says Henry Fonseca. Hi, Henry. Don't know why you almost lost it, but you found it, obviously, which is great. Yes, Macau Palace. And as Scott says there, paid homage to it in Skyfall as well. The more modern James Bond movie there was alluded to there as well. Anyway, let's move on to the next story. Oh, Chen Si, yes, finally joining as COO of RWS.
Yeah, great move for Chen. New challenge for him. Of course, he faced a pretty tough challenge up there in Spire.
He's had a couple of tough gigs, hasn't he?
Yeah, he was at Macau Legend as well back in the day.
Make it 3.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, certainly Inspire. And actually, there was Chen posted a lengthy post on social media last week, sort of, on marking his departure and talking about the challenges they faced over the years and the pretty incredible things they, excuse my French, but they pulled out of their ass a couple of times to get things going.
Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, look, he got the job done. Inspire is open, and of course he was there when there was the leadership challenge. So, but anyway, he's off to Singapore, off to Sentosa. Again, at an interesting time where the property is in the middle of its 2.0 expansion. Quite a bit happening at Sentosa. Obviously, a bit of a dearth of leadership there at the moment. So they obviously, in a desperate need of more leadership experience there. So Chen joining should provide that.
Yeah, I mean they've got the new is she CEO of Genting Singapore, Miss Lee, who made the Power 50 this year, has taken over a while back now after the departure of long-standing CEO Tan Hee Teck, and Chen joins as COO. So I hope Chen can turn around the fortunes of RWS there, because I mean the market share is, I think the last official numbers that we saw was 72-28 between Marina Bay Sands and RWS. But off the record, I've heard that that's more like 76-24 these days. So 3/4, 1/4, if it gets any worse, it's almost a monopoly rather than a duopoly. And that's not healthy. So, we want to see, and Resorts World Sentosa, though, investing large amount of money. So, yeah, as you said, interesting 5,000 views there. So popular story. Chen's a very likable guy, I think, very popular guy. So it'd be interesting to see. And I'm planning to try to get there in March, doing all the travel schedule for 2026 at the moment. But boy, what a nightmare that is. Trying to get to Singapore and Malaysia in sometime in March. We'll go check the property out and say hi to Chen. All right, next one. Yes, it's Korea. What's going on in Korea? Players must be going back from China, or Korea's GGR is up everywhere, isn't it?
Yeah, I won't spend too much time on this, but this has been a recurring theme throughout the year for all of the foreigner-only operators, certainly the ones that are listed. Of course, Jeju Dream Tower, overseen by Lot Tour Development. So yeah, they post their results on the 1st or 2nd of every month, and pretty much at least 10 months of this year, they've seen significant increases from the previous month. Every month has been up from last year. They're more than that. They're basically double at this stage now from the previous year. So a lot happening. I believe there's been aided by these visa applications from mainland China. That whole process has been made a lot easier. I think there's some geopolitical tensions in the past that may have eased as well. So I think a few factors, a couple of years post-COVID has helped. So all of these factors, and also this property here, Jeju Dream Tower, has been open for a couple of years now too. So I guess it's sort of really bedded itself in, ramped up, and starting to fire.
Yeah, 35. I mean, it's always been very low revenue there, and 35 million. It's for a month, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a run rate of 420 million and rising. So it'll be over $500 million soon. I mean, compared to the Macau properties, not that much, but doubling from where they were, it actually gives them a little bit of breathing space, doesn't it? So that's interesting, and they're the biggest on Jeju by far, aren't they? I think they're more than half of all the Jeju casino revenues, of which there's 8, I think, from memory. I'm planning to go next year to Korea. I've got a trip planned. I'm going to go to Korea for about 10 or 11 days. I'm going to have a long trip to Korea, and I want to go to basically almost every casino in Korea while I'm there. So I'll go to Incheon, I'll go up to Seoul, I'll go to Jeju, visit I've already had some invites to go to Jeju. Might even get down to Busan for a day or two if I can. And I certainly want to go over to Kangwon Land and see what they're doing there. So quite interesting. Anyway, let's move on. What's next, Oscar? Well, same theme. You can keep going.
Yeah, same thing. I'll just do this very, very quickly. This one, same story. It is, Paradise has long been the biggest of the foreigner-only operators. It still is. Of course, it's got Paradise City, integrated resort up there in Incheon. It's got property in Seoul, property in Busan, property in Jeju. Of course, Paradise Walker Hill here in the picture, a very well-known property there in Seoul. They've been powering along strongly. They've also been quite active away from the gaming floor in just and talking publicly about improving their properties, really raising the level. Obviously they've seen what's available around Asia, the quality of property, the quality of offering for people, and they've recognised that if they're going to continue to bring in players, particularly I think with MGM Osaka opening in about 5 or 6 years' time, I think that's on their radar for sure. I think they realise they need to up the ante, so they've been in the process of doing that. But again, Andrew, another strong month for them.
Yeah, that's a huge threat for them because a lot of Japanese players, obviously with the proximity of Korea to Japan, a lot of Japanese players are going there. Yeah, Philip Chun, the long-time chairman there at Paradise, and of course Paradise City in Incheon, one of the 2 major IRs there, Inspire and Paradise. And that is a 55-45 joint venture with Sega Sammy. For those of you who don't know, 55% Paradise and 45% Sega Sammy. And Mr. Choi is the CEO there. Very lovely man. Very nice guy. Mr. Choi, I've had a cup of tea with him and I've been up there. And they're quite, like you say, they're thinking about their situation at the moment. Always tough as a foreigner-only casino. They acknowledge that that's tough. And of course, they'd love that rule to change, as it has recently in Vietnam. Probably gives them pause for hope that one day it could happen. And who knows, maybe Japan opening is the catalyst for the powers that be in Korea to say, you know what, we've got to try some kind of locals trial or some kind of thing to keep this industry going. Anyway, let's move on. What's next, Oscar? Yeah, this was interesting. Came in yesterday, didn't it?
Yeah, very interesting one. So obviously Betfair, betting exchange that's been operational in Australia for many years, owned by Crown Resorts, of course, launching a fixed odds sportsbook, Andrew. So I guess going head to head with your sports bets, TABs and Neds and Ladbrokes and all those guys in a pretty crowded market, but a pretty profitable market too in Australia. We love our sports betting down here. So I guess they'll be leveraging their database at Crown and getting word out. Look forward to seeing what they come up with.
If they're allowed to, I presume they are. I'm not quite sure about that. But if they're allowed to, they certainly will do that. I mean, I think a lot of people that are our audience, which is basically integrated resort industry in Asia, and not so much the Pacific, they know Macau, they know Singapore, they know Philippines. And then when they come to the Power 50, a few names come up on the screen, like Barney Evans, for example, CEO, isn't he, of Sportsbet?
Yep.
That's his title. come up on the screen. Everyone goes, "Ooh, who's that?" And finally, it kind of introduces some of this part of the industry that are more our audience to the fact that, hey, there's a lot of betting going on and gaming going on, gambling activity in the Asia Pacific region that is not casino activity. There's a lot of betting going on with the Hong Kong Jockey Club, for example, the Japan Racing Association, and in Australia only 25 million people, but boy, do we love a bet. And sport, and we love sport. So those two things both intersect, and you get huge sports betting. Could be one of the biggest in the world, maybe. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if it was. And you get companies like Sportsbet. It's dominated by Tabcorp and Sportsbet, right? Sportsbet have well and truly won that war over the last decade or so. You know more about this than me, Ben, being a former sports journalist as well.
Yeah, well, back in 2000 and I'm going to say 20, Sportsbet merged with BetEasy to create a bit of a juggernaut, and so at that particular time, TAB held the largest market share by a little bit. And since that merger, Sportsbet has sort of soared into the lead. At one stage there, they held around 50% of the entire online market share of Australia's sports industry. I think that's come down a little more. I know Tabcorp was putting quite a bit of an effort into gaining lost ground there. But it is a very competitive market, as you say. Keeping in mind that online gambling is restricted in Australia to sports betting and lottery, basically. There's certainly an online casino or online poker in the legal sense anyway. So, this is obviously Crown's and the Crownbet brand used to exist years ago, and then after mergers and acquisitions, it went by the wayside. So this is Crown bringing that Crownbet brand back, which has a bit of brand equity.
Absolutely, and they can leverage the Crown brand. The Crown brand is still definitely worth something. It took a battering for a while, but it's on the way back. It's definitely turned the corner. Actually, turned the corner some time ago, and they just, as we've reported, they just got their first announced their first profit, and I think they've repaired the tarnished brand, and I think there's good brand equity in Crownbet. So that's an interesting development, and there's a lot of corporate bookmakers in Australia, isn't there? It's not just Sportsbet. There's a whole sports. I should know this. They're Flutter, are they?
Yes,
they are Flutter. Right? Is there an Entain brand? There must be an Entain.
Neds and Ladbrokes and one other smaller one, I believe.
Right. Okay. So Flutter dominates rather than Entain in Australian sports betting.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. All right. Let's move on to the next one. Hector.
Yeah, I almost didn't recognise Hector with a full head of hair because
what's going on there?
We did a nice sit-down interview with Hector when he was still at Aristocrat in Macau, and he had the shaved head going on at that stage. But
he's let it grow during his gardening leave.
Yeah, I quite like the full head look by Hector. So obviously, this is actually announced a year ago, basically, that Hector would be joining the new look IGT, the merged IGT and Every businesses.
It was a bit strange, wasn't it, the way that they announced it?
Well, it was actually Aristocrat was the one that announced it. It was in a bit of almost I wouldn't say vitriolic, but certainly they sort of mentioned that he was leaving and he wasn't allowed to work anywhere else for a while. That was very interesting.
Made very sure that he went on his gardening leave.
Absolutely. I think they got the message out there that he was not to start with IGT. But he has now, as of this week, he started with IGT as CEO of the gaming business. And they're obviously a very, one of the stronger companies in the US. They're pretty strong in Australia, not so strong in Asia, Andrew. That's pretty much dominated by two companies, of course. So we'll see what, obviously, Hector can get the word out there and see what this new look company can do.
He's got the silver fox look going there, Hector. Oh, good on him. So let's see how. And of course, they merged. Did you just say that then? That they merged with Every, and you did. And he's going to have to manage that process. Every, of course, being a kiosk business. IGT huge in America, and they got Wheel of Fortune. You walk through any casino in Vegas, you hear that Wheel of Fortune, right? It's kind of burnt into the brain, and lots of more. That's an older product now. But they've got a lot of other stuff too, and they're very big brand equity over the years. Probably their fortunes, I have to say, have slipped a bit, but we wish them luck, and we wish them luck in Asia Pacific too. All right, and it would be good to have a IGC with a bit more market share, I think. Okay, what's next, Oscar? I think we must be getting near the end. Oh, my favourite place. I love this place. Oh, it's going to be so good. I can't wait till the opening. I'll be there. I'll either be dead or there. I mean, they're the only two available options. I will definitely be there at the opening if they'll have me. March 2027, it's going to open, and it's just beautiful. I've got to say, look at that setting. On one side, you can't really see from that picture, but on the right of where that tower is, very unusual to see a tower for Wynn, is the Mediterranean Sea. And on the back there, what you can see, that circle is a yachting marina. And can you imagine the super yachts that are going to be in that yachting marina at the UAE, Ras Al Khaimah, the very north of the UAE? And they had a big investor day yesterday. I actually I mentioned earlier, I met with Frederick Luvisoto and Craig Fullerlove yesterday, and they mentioned that that there was an investor day. The investor day was actually physically held at the property. They had a whole bunch of analysts there, probably trying to get the share price up a bit, trying to wax lyrical about how good it's going to be, but rightly so. I think it is going to be. Tell us a bit more about it, Ben. What did they say?
Well, they released an investor presentation to go along with that analyst day, which detailed, well, it was actually quite extensive. It took me a while to go through and to come up with exactly what I was going to write about. There was so much information in there. But
there's a lot, wasn't there?
Yeah, I mean, it again outlined all sorts of financial forecasts. It had, low case, middle case, high case scenarios. It had scenarios for Wynn being the only integrated resort in the UAE, or will there be two? Will there be three? So it's outlining all the potential scenarios, looking at market dynamics, looking at customer bases, many different things. I mean, one of the things I highlighted in the story is that GGR, again, this depends on low case or high case, could account for up to 90% of all property revenue. I think the low case was around 72%. So it just sort of depends on how that all plays out. But a couple of things, Andrew, they were talking about, infrastructure improvements going on around the place too. I mean, there's so much happening in the UAE at the moment. But I thought the interesting thing was basically the flying taxis, Andrew, that are being launched in the UAE, and they're going to have vertical takeoff flying taxis that you can get from Dubai straight up to Wynn.
Great idea.
Island.
Great idea.
15 minutes. Idea. That's how I plan to travel, Andrew, when I'm there. No other way.
I don't know if the taxi will take me. They might need two. They might have to dock two of them together. Scroll down the bottom, Oscar. There's a picture of the vertical takeoff taxis right down the bottom, Oscar. Keep going. There it is.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll fit in there. But that's kind of a fun thing to get to grab some attention. But what really grabs attention of investors is the profitability. I thought they were a little conservative on the numbers, actually, to be honest with you.
I mean, they're still looking at the market overall being, and well, I mean, it's quite a wide mark. They've put anywhere between 3 billion and 5 billion. That's quite a difference. They're looking at anywhere between at Wynn 1 billion to 1.7 or 8-ish billion.
1.7, I think it was 1.1 to 1.7.
Yeah. I mean, that's quite a discrepancy. So, I mean, a lot to play out there. That so many different factors will play into where that falls.
Yeah, hard to know because you've got potentially, and people ask me whenever we get into conversation about this, or what's the market? Where's the market? Well, I actually see 4 potential markets. Some of them may fire, some of them may not. But GCC, Gulf Cooperation countries, or Gulf Cooperation Coalition, or whatever the hell it's called, the GCC, which I think is 7 countries, Middle Eastern countries, dominated by Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Oman, UAE, etc. I think there will be players. There will definitely be players from there. Obviously, a lot of religious sensitivities in that part of the world, but there will be players. And there'll be private playing areas. I think you'll get Russians, because of quite close proximity, and UAE's proven themselves to be welcoming to Russians in a way that some other parts of the world are not. I think you'll get a lot of Europeans. I think you'll get a lot of Eastern Europeans, Lithuania, Estonia, all of that eastern part of Europe, and Central. You'll get Austrians, you'll get Germans, you'll get French, you'll get, that's obviously Western Europe, but it's a little bit of a longer flight for them. But I think you will get them. And I think India is a potential market too. A lot of people poo-poo India. They sort of no, it won't really fire. But there are some very wealthy Indians, very high-class wealthy Indians that would Would love to play in a place like this. By the way, that picture doesn't do it justice, I don't think. I've seen the renderings, and I've actually physically been there about 6 months ago. It's obviously moved along a lot since then. They've topped out apparently, or just about to top out. And that's obviously a life. That probably looks like that's a picture from a few weeks ago, maybe a month or two ago. I think it's more advanced than that now. Yeah. So, and I can tell you from walking around, I can't give any details because I've been sworn to secrecy and I won't break that. But I can just say in general what you can see from the outside and from the location when you go up there. I suspect it's going to be very, very beautiful, and it's going to be a real place that people want to go to. It'll be a must-do venue for players, and having a Wynn. They've got that iconic Wynn brown sort of. They're probably going to yell at me for saying brown. There's probably a fancy name for that color, but it's that Wynn color, isn't it? That every Wynn property is, and with the glass sort of the glass sheen on it, and they've incorporated Arabian culture into it. So when you're there, it's definitely a Wynn. You feel like you're in a Wynn property, uber luxurious, but they've incorporated a few elements that make sense for the part of the world that it's in. So I'm very excited about it, and I'll be there in January, and then the next time I'll be there will be March 2027 for the opening, hopefully. So I'm really looking forward to that, and we'll report on it extensively in IAG because it's a major development in the integrated resort world for the planet.
Yeah, and Andrew, I think last week I mentioned that we'd be happy to have our annual end of year planning meeting in the Bahamas. Well, I mean, we could also win our Marjan Islands, no problem.
Yeah, I think that. Well, perhaps there could be a follow-up meeting in January. Yeah, every year.
Available for that.
Make yourself available. But why don't we do it quarterly?
Yeah, sure, no problem.
All right, let's move on. Is that the last one? Because that was this morning, wasn't it? That was this morning. That is the last one. Wow, what a long way. We went an hour. I can't believe it. Yeah, we can certainly talk guilty as charged, Your Honour. But it's an interesting industry and it's an interesting time, and there's a lot to talk about, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. It's been as you know, Andrew, I'm at the coalface and looking for stories all the time.
Yeah.
And when you get weeks, so we've had quite a few weeks like this, a lot of stories. It makes my job easier when there's a lot to write about, a lot to talk about. It makes it more interesting as well. So yeah, I feel that this week there's been quite a few pretty big stories, but a lot of really interesting stories too.
Yeah, I mean, you do a great job. I mean, the whole team does. We all do. But you lead that editorial process. You do a great job of reporting. I mean, there's so much going on. It is easy to miss something sometimes because there's just so much going on around the world. I mean, we were very Macau centric a few years ago, and then COVID sort of gave us a kick in the rear end. See, I just said rear end. I didn't say the A word. I think extraction from the rectal passage was the expression you were looking for before. Anyway, and that kind of made us go a lot more Asia Pacific, quite a few years ago now, and which we've done. We've put a lot of effort, and now we're kind of with the merger with CDC, we're sort of almost global, aren't we?
Yeah. I mean, it's I feel like a lot of operators in the region too are looking globally these days too.
Yep.
Now, that's starting to become more of a thing. I think the pandemic, as you said, has just made everybody just think globally these days. You can't be stuck in your one hole and just looking in one direction. You've got to be looking for opportunities everywhere. We've seen that with Galaxy looking around, with MGM China looking at Thailand. So and we're the same, Andrew. We're keep your eyes out, and our area of coverage is pretty wide these days, as you say.
Yeah, pretty much the whole world except Europe and Africa. We'll leave Europe for the moment. That's a whole other. That's a very eye-gaming place. We'll leave that. We'll leave Africa for the moment. We're busy enough with the rest of the world. But, the Americas are super interesting. I mean, Latin America is super interesting as well, with Brazil, Portuguese speaking. Like Macau has got Portuguese people with Portuguese language skills. That opening up to the iGaming industry is very interesting as well. So, I think Latin America might be a bit of a project for CDC next year. And Australia coming back as well. Australia was kind of a bit of a write-off there for a few years. But it kind of feels like next year could be Australia's year, doesn't it? Crown sort of coming back. Star's got new leadership. Even Sky City. Have they resolved their... they've resolved everything, right?
They have, yes.
Yeah. But the one big thing we haven't mentioned is Star's fine from Austrac, right? Let's just remind everybody of that. What's going on there, Ben?
Well, that's everything's been presented to the courts in Australia. Austrac's made their presentation. It's basically with the judge. It's all waiting for a resolution to be announced. That I think they were told it could happen any time from September onwards. So, Star, I mean, they mentioned during their AGM, they're basically waiting for the news. It could drop today, it could drop next week, it could drop anytime soon.
I know how to make it drop. Say that it won't drop until next year, and then it'll be on the Austrac website this afternoon. So I won't do that to Sue Kim. I won't say, because that'd be kind of bad to do it now, wouldn't it? It'd be very disruptive for them. Hopefully, something in the new year. Just get it over and done with. And the big problem there, of course, is the Crown got 450 million, right? 450 million Australian. So about 300 million US. And, the argument would be, well, Star probably just as egregious, if not more, probably should get the same. But then another argument is, but 450 million to Crown and Blackstone isn't as much as what 450 million would be to Star, which has just basically effectively been taken over for 300 million.
Absolutely, yes. And so, we'll see how that plays out, whether Austrac puts in a payment plan, lay-by, basically.
Lay-by. I don't think that non-Australians would understand what lay-by is. Basically, pay as you go, retail purchases. Very fashionable in the 70s and 80s in Australia.
That's right. Yeah. So, look, there might be various payment options, but we'll see. That's one of the big news stories I'm keeping an eye out for every day, Andrew.
And look, we didn't even mention Kieran Carruthers back on the market. Did a big. He's done his 1 year gardening leave from Crown. And he's not saying he's on the market, but he put a very interesting, really interesting actually, post of just his thoughts on LinkedIn. So being active there is obviously just enjoying his what was enforced retirement is now non-enforced retirement. Let's see what happens with Kiran in the new year. Maybe he'll end up going somewhere.
I think he's been linked with every single operator in Asia Pacific in that time, Andrew. So
he said to me, if he had $1 for every time it's been said he's going to go to Galaxy, or he's going to go to Sands, he's going to go here, he's going to go there, he'd be a wealthy man. So let's see what happens in the new year. All right, well, that's it for us. Thank you for sticking with us. To those of you who have stuck with us here on IAG Live, we will be back next Friday from Manila. Well, I'll be in Manila. You'll be in Sydney still. And that will be barring any unusual or irregularities, that will be the penultimate IAG Live for the year. And our last one will be on December 19, the last day that our office is open. Then our office closes for the year until January 5. And we run our holiday series like we do every year in between December 20 and usually the first Monday in January. So have a good weekend, everyone. For those of you who'll be at Mad tonight, look forward to seeing you tonight. And you have a good weekend. Ben, what's up for you on the weekend?
I don't really know, Andrew. I haven't really made any big
Get some
plans.
sleep.
So, get a sleep in and, we'll see.
Very good. All right, bye for now, and we'll see you next week. Bye.